Okay, so I've been designing this, and if I zoom out a little bit, you can see that it's not very good, but I'm trying to do this for the purposes of illustration. Now, obviously, you've got all these lines all over the screen. You want to be able to see what it looks like without. Well, in the main menu, the main UI tools menu here, down here at the bottom, there's a little preview, which if I click on it, just hides everything. So you can see exactly what your final result would actually look like, which is quite nice. So literally you toggle between the two, one's with little markup and lines on, one without. And if you want to output it, then you have to decide what form you want to output it and how you want to save it. Now, there's several different ways of outputting things. One is to export. So let's export. And export, you can export as a PDF. You can export in other formats as well. So you can in theory export into for e-devices, EPUB, etc. You can export as a single JPEG, so it turns everything into images, and you can control the size of those images in the settings. But I'm going to just output as a PDF, and there's two forms. One is interactive, which is for creating stuff online. So you can make hyperlinks and things work within it if you want to. I'm not going to go down that route. And the other one is Adobe PDF print. So let's create a PDF of this. And so now I've selected PDF, and then I just want to save. So let's call it, I keep calling it test save, and that will come the main menu. Now there's a whole lot of settings here. Most cases, once you set them up, you won't have to keep changing them, but I'll go through them for you. General, whether you want to save everything or just a particular page, normally the default should be all. You won't need most of this unless you're going to optimize for fast web, which means that for photos load and images load sort of piecemeal. That's useful. View PDF after exporting. Once you've done that, once the PDF stopped being built, it will load it straight away so you can have a look at it. It tells you do you want to export visible and printable layers. Well, normally you do. There's very few reasons why you might not want to do that, because you may have turned layers off. So I normally leave just what's visible and printable there as standard. Compression, this is for print. If you are outputting it as a screen image or as a JPEG, you probably want it a bit smaller, like 72 dpi, especially for sending to somebody. But for print, keep it at 300. That's a really good thing to have. And this is just what those controls are for. Marks and bleeds, if you're sending it to output via a print company that's going to crop it for you, you might want to set it out with printer's marks on, crop marks, bleed marks, etc., registration marks for colour. That's what all these are for. We don't need those at the moment, so I'm going to leave them alone. And the same goes for bleed setting. You can actually override the document bleed setting and give it a different one. Colour. When you come to output it, normally it will convert the colour into whatever thing you're going to do. So normally convert to destination is probably the best, because you're converting it into a print medium if you've been working in RGB. I tend to work in RGB because I work on computers, but obviously if you're doing a lot to print, you probably want to work in CMYK in order to be compatible with print. But since we're a digital medium, we're going to stick it with RGB, so I'll stick with no colour. Advanced, don't need this lot at the moment. Lots and lots of facilities for actually changing how things actually work. I'm not going to do that. And then you can change lots of things. Let's not worry about the simple ones at the top. So I click on export, and it will go away and it will write it, and it's been very quick, and it's come back, and there it is. So I've got the PDF of the document that I just did, which is a pretty crappy looking document, but there you go, I've got it. And that's all it takes to do it. Now the other output form that you can do, which is quite handy, is called packaging. Now, as I said to you earlier, everything is scattered on the disk. When you put an image in like this, it doesn't actually put the image in, it's putting a link in to that image. So if that's the case, you can go up here and you can look at the links, and you can see they're the two images that I've got, and I can actually show the link information pane, which will show me, it's off the bottom of the screen, it shows me where it actually is on the hard drive, where it's actually moving it from, the dimensions of the image and everything. Now if this image has been updated, what you'll find is that there'll be a little mark next to it, and all you have to do is go right click, relink, or right link update is probably the just relink would work with that, or update, and it will update it to the current version. Now having them all over the place is obviously a problem, because you may well end up losing them. People may move them, you may delete them, and then go back to your document and find out it's all, what's happened to this image, it's not there anymore. So there's a nice feature in InDesign which is called package. So if I go to file, and there's a package here somewhere, where is it? Package. What package does is that it will go through everything in your document, and it will put it all in one place. So it's telling me there's nothing missing, there's 2 links been found, one uses RGB color space, etc. So it's giving me some notification of what there is there. It'll tell me what fonts it's found, it will tell me what images that it's found, etc. But the basic thing to do is to click on package, and it will come up with just save or continue. Save it now, yes, save it. And it'll come up with this, printing instructions. This is a place where you can call it what the hell you like. It's intended as information for the printer, so for most people it's not normally a lot of use, but if you're sending this off, you could put all the your contact details in there in case they need to contact you. I'm just going to click continue for now, and then it will ask me where I want to save it to. So I'll just InDesign test folder, I'll leave it at that, and package. And there you go, it's a bit off screen, just said it had done it. It's gone through and it's put everything in that package. So if I navigate to that package, which is hidden away on my hard drive, let me just find it, and you can see what it's actually done. So it's here, posters, yep, should be doing it on screen. There we go, InDesign test folder, and inside that you've got the InDesign document. I copied the InDesign document. You've got a copy of the PDF. You've got all the links that are in there, and you've got any fonts that have been included in it. And if you then archive that folder, put it in a zip file, you will always be able to go back to that and reload it and do whatever you want with it. Okay, so that's just about it for the basics. There's one more thing I'll tell you about, and that's because this could have lots of really big images in, it approximates some things. If I zoom in here, can you see that this image looks pretty low res, even though I said we should be using large res images. It is a large res image, it's just that you can't see it's a large res image, because what happens is, if I go to display performance, it's not really set on use view settings, which I've set to be typical display. If I override it for this and click high quality display, it will load the image at the highest resolution now. If you've got a few images, that's not a lot of memory in your machine, that's not a big deal. But if you've got lots and lots of images and they're all high res, and then it will start to tax your PC, and that's the reason for doing it this way. That's why you have a link to the object rather than pull the final thing in, because you can actually use a lower res stand-in image in the meantime. So that's what that is. Of course, whether you do that or not, it is the original high-res image that will be output for you when you make a PDF. So you never have a lower quality resolution. That's all that will matter. Now, the downside of this is that if the image goes, if you lose the link, you'll either lose the image here or you'll be stuck with the low resolution thumbnail that's actually embedded within the file. So be careful about that. make sure that you package up everything that you do when you come to do it. Now I've only hardly touched the surface of everything that's here. We've dealt with the text box, and we've dealt with creating sort of frames, and that's about it. But you can create all sorts of other stuff. As you can see, you can create lines or strokes. And of course, strokes have their own menu as well, so you could define a line and then define the stroke and then assign that everywhere. So, for example, if you're making a series of lines within your document, would be arrows or something like that, you could, for example, open up the window for the stroke. So strokes can be actually defined. So if I go into, if I made some strokes there, let's create those as an object style. So let's call it stroke 1. If I go in and I pick the stroke and corner options and say it should be an arrow, where's the start end, here we go. So start, I want it to be an arrow, and we want the scale of the arrow to be I don't know, quite small, 50%, quite large, 200, that'll do. Okay, so I've got a really big arrow there. Oops, got the wrong with the window. So I could then apply the same thing to that. I could apply stroke 1 to that. And of course, because they're both strokes, then obviously I can go through and I can edit it to be whatever I want, and I can change the colour, etc. in exactly the same way, and it changes everywhere, and the stroke and corner options would change as well accordingly. So 50, which is a great way of actually defining everything within the doc. There is so much in this program, it's unbelievable. You can draw very simple shapes. You can take the edge of an object and actually create a clipping frame for it, so text will follow an object. I won't go into any of those things at the moment. There's all sorts of things that you can actually put together. I'll talk to you individually on those, and I may put together another video on specific features. Okay, thank you.